Ghent is a city and a municipality in the Flemish region of Belgium. It is the capital and largest city of the East Flanders province, and the third largest in the country, exceeded in size only by Brussels and Antwerp. It is a port and university city. The city originally started as a settlement at the confluence of the rivers Scheldt and Lea, and in the late Middle Ages became one of the largest and richest cities of Northern Europe, with some 50,000 people in 1300. The municipality comprises the city of Ghent proper and the surrounding suburbs of Afsny, Disteldink, Drongen, Gentbrugge, Letteberg, Mariakerk, Mendink, Oostakker, Sint-Amandsberg, Sint-Denis-Westrum, Sint-Kruis-Winkel, Wandelgem and Swaenard. With 262,219 inhabitants at the beginning of 2019, Ghent is Belgium's second largest municipality by number of inhabitants. The metropolitan area, including the outer commuter zone, covers an area of 1,205 kilometers and has a total population of 560,522 as of the 1st of January 2018, which ranks it as the fourth most populous in Belgium. The current mayor of Ghent, Matthias de Klerk, is from the Liberal and Democratic Party Open VLD. The 10-day-long Ghent Festival is held every year and attended by about 1 to 1.5 million visitors. History. Archaeological evidence shows human presence in the region of the confluence of Scheldt and Lea going back as far as the Stone Age and the Iron Age. Most historians believe that the older name for Ghent, Ganda, is derived from the Celtic word Ganda, which means confluence. Other sources connect its name with an obscure deity named Gontia. There are no written records of the Roman period, but archaeological research confirms that the region of Ghent was further inhabited. When the Franks invaded the Roman territories from the end of the 4th century and well into the 5th century, they brought their language with them, and Celtic and Latin were replaced by Old Dutch. Middle Ages. Around 650, Saint Amand founded two abbeys in Ghent, St. Peter's and St. Bavo's Abbey. Around 800, Louis the Pious, son of Charlemagne, appointed Einhard, the biographer of Charlemagne, as abbot of both abbeys. The city grew from several nuclei, the abbeys and a commercial center. However, both in 851 and 879, the city was plundered by the Vikings. Within the protection of the county of Flanders, the city recovered and flourished from the 11th century, growing to become a small city-state. By the 13th century, Ghent was the biggest city in Europe north of the Alps after Paris. It was bigger than Cologne or Moscow. Within the city walls lived up to 65,000 people. The belfry and the towers of the St. Bavo Cathedral and St. Nicholas's Church are just a few examples of the skyline of the period. The rivers flowed in an area where much land was periodically flooded. These rich grass, meersen, were ideally suited for herding sheep, the wool of which was used for making cloth. During the Middle Ages, Ghent was the leading city for cloth. The wool industry, originally established at Bruges, created the first European industrialized zone in Ghent in the High Middle Ages. The mercantile zone was so highly developed that wool had to be imported from Scotland and England. This was one of the reasons for Flanders' good relationship with Scotland and England. Ghent was the birthplace of John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster. Trade with England suffered significantly during the 100 Years' War. Early modern period. The city recovered in the 15th century, when Flanders was united with neighboring provinces under the Dukes of Burgundy. High taxes led to a rebellion and eventually the Battle of Gever in 1453, in which Ghent suffered a terrible defeat at the hands of Philip the Good. Around this time, the center of political and social importance in the Low Countries started to shift from Flanders to Brabant, although Ghent continued to play an important role. With Bruges, the city led two revolts against Maximilian of Austria, the first monarch of the House of Habsburg to rule Flanders. In 1500, Juana of Castile gave birth to Charles V, who became Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain. Although native to Ghent, he punished the city after the 1539 revolt of Ghent and obliged the city's nobles to walk in front of the emperor barefoot with a noose around the neck. Since this incident, the people of Ghent have been called Strapendragers. St. Bavo Abbey was abolished, torn down, and replaced with a fortress for royal Spanish troops. Only a small portion of the abbey was spared demolition. The late 16th and the 17th centuries brought devastation because of the 80 Years' War. The war ended the role of Ghent as a center of international importance. In 1745, The city was captured by French forces during the War of the Austrian Succession before being returned to the Empire of Austria under the House of Habsburg following the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748. When this part of Flanders became known as the Austrian Netherlands until 1815, the exile of the French Emperor Napoleon I, the end of the French Revolutionary and later Napoleonic Wars and the peace treaties arrived at by the Congress of Vienna. 19th century. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the textile industry flourished again in Ghent. Leuven Bouwens, having smuggled the industrial and factory machine plans out of England, introduced the first mechanical weaving machine on the European continent in 1800. The Treaty of Ghent, negotiated here and adopted on Christmas Eve 1814, formally ended the War of 1812 between Great Britain and the United States. After the Battle of Waterloo, Ghent and Flanders, previously ruled from the House of Habsburg in Vienna as the Austrian Netherlands, became a part of the United Kingdom of the Netherlands with the Northern Dutch for 15 years. In this period, Ghent established its own university and a new connection to the sea. After the Belgian Revolution, with the loss of port access to the sea for more than a decade, the local economy collapsed and the first Belgian trade union originated in Ghent. In 1913 there was a world exhibition in Ghent. As a preparation for these festivities, the St. Peter's railway station was completed in 1912. 20th century. Ghent was occupied by the Germans in both world wars but escaped severe destruction. The life of the people and the German invaders in Ghent during World War I is described by H. Want in Etappenleven te Gent. In World War II the city was liberated by the British 7th, Desert Rats, Armoured Division and local Belgian fighters on the 6th of September 1944. With the northern suburbs and the industrial area cleared over the following days by the 15th Infantry Division. Geography. After the fusions of municipalities in 1965 and 1977, the city is made up of I Ghent, 2 Mariakerk, 3 Drongen, IV Wandelgem, V Sint-Amandsberg, V Oostakker, 7 Distelding, 8 Mendink, X Sint Kruiswinkel, X Letteberg, 11 Gentbrug, 12 Afsny, 13 Sint Denis Westrum, 14 Spanard. Neighboring municipalities: Wachtebek, La Christie, Desselbergen, Mel, Marilbek, De Pinte, Sint Martins Latem, Dines, Neville, Lovendegem, Evergem, Zelzate. Climate. The climate in this area has mild differences between highs and lows, and there is adequate rainfall year-round. According to the Köppen climate classification system, Ghent has a marine west coast climate, abbreviated CFB, on climate maps. Demographics. Population. Nationalities. Ghent is home to a large number of people of foreign origin and immigrants. From the 2020 census, it was concluded that 35.5% of the inhabitants have roots outside of Belgium and 15.3% have a non-Belgian nationality. Many neighborhoods already have a minority-majority population, primarily in the north, east and west of the city, as well as some pockets in the south. Some examples are Brugse Poort, Dampoort, Rabbit, Letteberg, Nieuw-Gent, UZ and the area around Sleepstraat. Tourism. Architecture. Much of the city's medieval architecture remains intact and is remarkably well preserved and restored. Its center is a car-free area. Highlights are the St. Bavo Cathedral with the Ghent altarpiece, the Belfry, the Gravenstein Castle, and the splendid architecture along the old Gréselay harbor. Ghent has established a blend between comfort of living and history. It is not a city museum. The city of Ghent also houses 3 Beguinages and numerous churches including St. Jacob's Church, St. Nicholas Church, St. Michael's Church and St. Stephanus. In the 19th century Ghent's most famous architect, Louis Roland, built the University Hall Aula, the Opera House and the main courthouse. Highlights of modern architecture are the university buildings by Henry van de Velde. There are also a few theaters from diverse periods. The Beguinages, as well as the Belfry and adjacent Cloth Hall, were recognized by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites in 1998 and 1999. The Zebrastraat, a social experiment in which an entirely renovated site unites living, economy and culture, can also be found in Ghent. Campo Santo is a famous Catholic burial site of the nobility and artists. One of the more notable pieces of contemporary architecture in Ghent is De Crook, the new Central Library and Media Center, a collaboration between local firm Cassé and Goris and Catalan firm RCR Architectos. Museums. Important museums in Ghent are the Museum voor Schoon Kunsten, with paintings by Hieronymus Bosch, Peter Paul Rubens, and many Flemish masters. The Smaak or Stedelijk Museum voor Actuele Kunst, with works of the 20th century, including Joseph Beuys and Andy Warhol, and the Design Museum Ghent with masterpieces of Victor Horta and Le Corbusier. The Huis van Allen was originally a beganage and is now a museum for folk art where theater and puppet shows for children are presented. The Museum voor Industrial Archaeology and Textile or MIAT displays the industrial strength of Ghent with recreations of workshops and stores from the 1800s and original spinning and weaving machines that remain from the time when the building was a weaving mill. The Ghent City Museum is committed to recording and explaining the city's past and its inhabitants, and to preserving the present for future generations. Restaurants and culinary traditions. In Ghent and other regions of East Flanders, bakeries sell a donut-shaped bun called a meestel, which is basically a bagel. Mastellen are also called St. Hubert bread, because on the saint's feast day, which is the 3rd of November, the bakers bring their batches to the early mass to be blessed. Traditionally, it was thought that blessed mastellen immunized against rabies. Other local delicacies are the praline chocolates from local producers such as Leonidas, the Cubertins or Nuix, cone-shaped purple jelly-filled candies, Babalutin, hard butterscotch-like candy, and of course, on the more fiery side, the famous Tirentaine, a hot but refined mustard that has some affinity to French Dijon mustard. Stoverage is a classic Flemish meat stew, preferably made with a generous addition of brown Trappist, and served with French fries. Waterzooi is a local stew originally made from freshwater fish caught in the rivers and creeks of Ghent, but nowadays often made with chicken instead of fish. It is usually served Nouvelle Cuisine style, and will be supplemented by a large pot on the side. The city promotes a meat-free day on Thursdays called Donderdag Vegiedag, with vegetarian food being promoted in public canteens for civil servants and elected councillors, in all city-funded schools, and promotion of vegetarian eating options in town. This campaign is linked to the recognition of the detrimental environmental effects of meat production, which the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has established to represent nearly 1/5 of global greenhouse gas emissions. The traditional confectionery is the Cubertin. These are conical sweets with a soft center, usually raspberry, but other flavors can be found on the many street stalls around the city. Between 2011 and 2015, a feud between two local vendors made international news. Festivities. The city is host to some big cultural events such as the Gentse Feesten, I Love Techno in Flanders Expo, the 10 Days Off musical festival, the International Film Festival of Ghent, and the Ghent Festival van Vlaanderen. Also, every 5 years, an extensive botanical exhibition takes place in Flanders Expo in Ghent, attracting numerous visitors to the city. The Festival of Flanders had its 50th celebration in 2008. In Ghent, it opens with the Ode Ghent City festivities that takes place on the second Saturday of September. Some 50 concerts take place in diverse locations throughout the medieval inner city, and some 250 international artists perform. Other major Flemish cities hold similar events, all of which form part of the Festival of Flanders. The city of Ghent will co-host the 2020 World Choir Games together with the city of Antwerp. Organized by the Intercultuur Foundation, the World Choir Games is the biggest choral competition and festival in the world. Nature. The numerous parks in the city can also be considered tourist attractions. Most notably, Ghent boasts a nature reserve and a recreation park. Economy. The Port of Ghent, in the north of the city, is the third largest port of Belgium. It is accessed by the Ghent-Terneuzen Canal, which ends near the Dutch port of Terneuzen on the western Scheldt. The port houses, among others, large companies like ArcelorMittal, Volvo Cars, Volvo Trucks, Volvo Parts, Honda, and Stora Enso. The Ghent University and a number of research-oriented companies, such as Ablinks, Innogenetics, Crop Design and Bayer Crop Science, are situated in the central and southern part of the city. As the largest city in East Flanders, Ghent has many hospitals, schools and shopping streets. Flanders Expo, the biggest event hall in Flanders and the second biggest in Belgium, is also located in Ghent. Tourism is becoming a major employer in the local area. Transport. As one of the largest cities in Belgium, Ghent has a highly developed transport system. Road. By car, the city is accessible via 2 motorways. The E40 connects Ghent with Bruges and Ostend to the west, and with Brussels, Leuven and Liège to the east. The E17 connects Ghent with Sint-Niklaas and Antwerp to the north, and with Kortrijk and Lille to the south. In addition, Ghent also has 2 ringways. The R4 connects the outskirts of Ghent with each other in the surrounding villages, and also leads to the E40 and E17 roads. The R40 connects the different downtown quarters with each other and provides access to the main avenues. Rail. The municipality of Ghent comprises 5 railway stations. Ghent St. Peter's Station, an international railway station with connections to Bruges, Brussels, Antwerp, Kortrijk, other Belgian towns and Lille. The station also offers a direct connection to Brussels Airport. Ghent Dampoort Station, an intercity railway station with connections to Sint-Niklaas, Antwerp, Kortrijk and Eeklo. Ghent Brugge Station, a regional railway station in between the 2 main railway stations, St. Peter's and Dampoort. Wandelgem Station, a regional railway station with connections to Eeklo once an hour. Drongen Station, a regional railway station in the village of Drongen with connections to Bruges once an hour. Public transport. Ghent has an extensive network of public transport lines, operated by De Lijn. Trams. Line 1. Flanders Expo, St. Peter's Station, Korenmarkt, Wandelgem, Evergem. Line 2. Svainaard Bibliotheek, St. Peter's Station, Zonnestraat, Brabantdam, Zuid, Mel Liu. Line 4. UZ, St. Peter's Station, Muid, Korenmarkt, Zuid, Moscow. Line 21. Svainaard Bibliotheek, St. Peter's Station, Zonnestraat, Zuid, Mel Liu. Line 22. Kouter, Bijlekkehof, St. Peter's Station, Zonnestraat, Zuid, Gentbrugge. Buses. Line 3. Mariakerk, Korenmarkt, Dampoort, Gentbrugge. Line 5. Van Beverenplein, St. Jacobs, Zuid, Heuvelpoort, New Gent. Line 6. Watersportbaan, Zuid, Dampoort, Mulestede, Wandelgem, Mariakerk. Line 8. As St. Lucas, St. Jacobs, Zuid, Heuvelpoort, Artevelde Park. Line 9. Mariakerk, Malum, St. Peter's Station, Letteberg, Gentbrugge. Line 17/18. Drongen, Malum, Korenmarkt, Dampoort, Oostakker. Line 38/39. Blarmerschen, Eckergem Korenmarkt, Dampoort, Sint-Amandsberg. Apart from the city buses mentioned above, Ghent also has numerous regional bus lines connecting it to towns and villages across the province of East Flanders. All of these buses stop in at least one of the city's regional bus hubs at either St. Peter's Station, Dampoort Station, Zuid or Rabat. International buses connecting Ghent to other European destinations are usually found at the Dampoort Station. A couple of private bus companies such as Eurolines, Megabus and Flixbus operate from the Dampoort bus hub. Buses to and from Belgium's second airport, Brussels South Airport Charleroi, are operated by Flibco, and can be found at the rear exit of the St. Peter's Station. Cycling. Ghent has the largest designated cyclist area in Europe, with nearly 400 kilometers of cycle paths and more than 700 one-way streets, where bikes are allowed to go against the traffic. It also boasts Belgium's first cycle street, where cars are considered guests and must stay behind cyclists. In 2017, the city restricted car traffic circulation, which boosts cycling. More cyclists means a higher demand for bicycle parking stations. In 2010, the plans to renovate Ghent St. Peter's railway station included 10,000 bicycle parking spots. In 2020, several sections of the underground parking facilities have been built, and the targets have been adjusted to a total of 17,000 parking spots. Sports. In the Belgian First Football Division, Ghent is represented by KAA Gent, who became Belgian football champions for the first time in its history in 2015. Another Ghent football club is KRC Gent Zeehaven, playing in the Belgian 4th Division. A football match at the 1920 Summer Olympics was held in Ghent. The 6 Days of Ghent, a 6-day track cycling race, is held annually, taking place in the Koertke Velodrome in Ghent. In road cycling, the city hosts the start and finish of the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, the traditional opening race of the cobbled classic season. It also lends its name to another cobbled classic, Ghent Wevelgem, although the race now starts in the nearby city of Dines. The city hosts an annual athletics IAAF event in the Flanders Sports Arena, the Indoor Flanders meeting, where two-time Olympic champion Hicham El Guerrou set an indoor world record of 3 minutes 48 seconds and 45 milliseconds in the mile run in 1997. The Flanders Sports Arena was host to the 2015 Davis Cup final between Belgium and Great Britain. Notable people: Alexander Agricola, Franco-Flemish composer of the Renaissance. Leo Baekeland, chemist and inventor of bakelite. Saint Bavo, patron saint of Ghent. T.H. Benoot, cyclist. Marta Bol, feminist. Jos Boutmai, composer, organist and harpsichordist. Cornelius Canis, composer of the Renaissance, music director for the chapel of Charles V in the 1540s to 1550s. Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor. Carol V, Charles Quint. Kevin de Bruyne, professional footballer. Willy de Klerk, liberal politician and European commissioner. Caspar de Creyer, painter. Pedro de Gante, Franciscan missionary in Mexico. Franz de Potter, writer. Emma de Veen, painter. Charlotte de Witt, DJ and record producer. Joseph Gislane, physician. Daniel Heinsius, scholar of the Dutch Renaissance. Henry of Ghent, scholastic philosopher. Xavier Henry, shooting guard, small forward for the NBA's Los Angeles Lakers. Corneille Jean-François Heymans, physiologist and recipient of the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Victor Horta, Art Nouveau architect. John of Gaunt, 1st Duke of Lancaster. Suzanne Liller, essayist, novelist, and playwright. Saint Livinus of Ghent. Louis XVIII of France was exiled in Ghent during the Hundred Days in 1815. Pierre Louys, poet and romantic writer. Maurice Maeterlinck, poet, playwright, essayist, recipient of the Nobel Prize in Literature.